we'll hop in. It's great to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into your life as an author and a speaker, I know that I'm going to get to a point where I'm not going to probably ask about COVID anymore, but I still think it was such a big deal for all of us to survive
Mm.
that pandemic. How did you ultimately get through it, and how did it influence the way that you do work now?
Well, COVID was kind of interesting in so many ways for me. I think I realized how much I need people. Um, and I have struggled with depression over the years too. So there was some of that off and on to deal with being so isolated. That's not a really great thing for me. And I get out a lot because of that. I'm very involved in my church and with mentoring young adults and all of those kind of things. So my life was so much out that it really kind of shifted that. And I found all kinds of ways that I could try to, like we were in a church that was doing live streams. So I was able to go in and just be part of that small group that was working on that and to stay connected to the people. I worked on the chat and stuff. So it gave me ways, I guess I learned how to be creative um, in creating those experiences to help bridge the gap when there's, I don't know, when in those kind of situations, I guess. I kind of refused to stay home all the time. I wasn't rebellious, but I wanted to stay mentally healthy, so I found different ways to do that. So that was big, and also because I'm deaf, it was very difficult. I really learned about people, who people are in those situations, and how to deal with um, being able to communicate my needs and advocate. Because with the masks, I read lips.
Yeah.
Um, so that was a huge thing for me. And people were pretty mean to me. It was very eye-opening to me how um, we were all about caring about other people, but yet, I mean, I left the post office crying one day just because of the way I was treated. And it just really opened my eyes to some of that. And made me think about how can I help those things. So I came out of it really with more of a passion to advocate even more for people, not just with deafness and hearing loss, but with other special needs and disabilities. So it really kind of gave me a chance to look inward to and to see people. You really got to see the real side of people. But I love to love people. So it gave me a chance to really think about how I could do that better. So, um, yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. My son is 19 and he's on the autism spectrum. So I've been in that advocacy role for quite a while now. So I have a deep level of appreciation for anyone out there that's, kind of a champion for those that need a voice. It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. And they need people who will do that for them. And there's not, I mean, they make it sound like there are more people doing that, but I don't fully believe that all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't either. I don't either. So let's get into exactly what you do for a living. And I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day. One of the kids in the back of the room is curious and is like, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer him?
Oh wow. On a third grade level. I take out paper and a pencil and I write.
Yeah.
Um, Writing has always been it's just been a way to communicate for me that my hearing doesn't um conflict with. So I remember I love writing cards, and things like that when I was really looking into what I was going to do when my kids grew up, because I stayed at home mainly. I did work at a school for a while with special needs kids. I was a special ed para for a while, but my main role was taking care of my children. So um, it was weird when they grew up, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And so just really remembered having a love for writing. So I just pick up my pen. I journal a lot. So I just started there and really um, looking into what it took to be a writer. And, blogging was coming into play when I was looking into that. And so I I kind of got into the blogging and then it kind of went from there. I started dreaming. I let myself dream. I think that's what I would tell a kid too. It's just to dream, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't always had the confidence to do it, but I just let myself dream and what maybe I could write a book. And that's really where it started for me. So I just started writing and really seeing what was on my heart, what were things that I could write about. And this book will just be the beginning for me. I'm planning on writing much more. So I started blogging. I have my website. I got on social media, and I'm very relational. Despite my hearing loss, I'm very relational. And so I love connecting with people, whether it's on social media or that. So I love the writing, but I also love the speaking. I've been able to have a few speaking opportunities, so that gives me a chance to connect with people too. So I think, um, so I like doing both of those. So that's really where what I'm doing right now.
So what was the book for you when you were young that you loved that made you want to read more or write?
Oh no, you know what? You know what? It's funny because I've been trying to find these in adult versions, but I used to love the Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Yeah.
They really stick out to my
Uh-huh.
head. Um, because my childhood was okay, but I was lonely a lot. And with my hearing loss, it I was even lonelier. So it's like I could choose my own adventure and I could go wherever I wanted. They were just so fun for me. They're very memorable for me. And I keep looking for them in the adult version, but I don't know if they have them. But I think
Yeah.
we should write them.
Yeah. Right. I agree. I agree. So what did you want to be when you were in the third grade, when you were young? What was that? What was your dream?
Actually, back then, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay. Did you pursue law?
No, well, I did kind of research it. I did a little bit in high school. Um, I really think that I wasn't confident that I could do it with my hearing. I really think that's what it came down to. Um, and I didn't want to, I wanted to be a lawyer, but I also saw the things that came with being a lawyer, and I wasn't sure if I would be able to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
So talk to me a little bit about your childhood and how you got to the point where you became an advocate for yourself and for others with disabilities, and you decided to write and speak and make the stage a place that you wanted to be on.
well, I grew up in I don't know, a typical home. I mean, my mom and dad were home, but my mom was also deaf.
Okay.
So, but I don't think anyone ever advocated for my mom. I don't think she really knew how to because as I went through the school experience, my parents really did not advocate much. I didn't learn much about advocating from them. And so I kind of had to figure it out myself. That's kind of been the theme of my life, really. So I got my first hearing aid in fourth grade. So I was 9. I got my hearing aid and I'm sitting in classroom. The kids were making fun of me. They constantly made fun of me with my speech and because my speech used to be very slurry and nasally. The cochlear implants have helped me with that. So I sound different now, but they would make fun of me all the time. So I threw my hearing aid in the locker and I said, I'm done with this. So
Yeah.
I then I went back to the classroom and I couldn't understand anything. I had to figure it out. And that's where I learned to read lips.
Yeah.
I stared at the teacher and stared at the teacher. I had to learn how to advocate for myself at school. For back then, they stuck you in front of the classroom and that was it. And you kind of had to fend for yourself. And then they started coming into this other place where they were acknowledging special needs a little bit more. But then they threw me into this classroom with a lot of people with mental special needs. And I walked down and they were wonderful kids. It just wasn't where I belonged.
Yeah.
And a lot of people equate deafness to mental ability, and
Right.
it's not that at
Right.
all. So I marched down to my guidance counselor and I said, "You need to get me out of there." And I said, all these little experiences just kind of helped me learn how to advocate. And then when I was working at the school, um, I had one special boy. I loved him to pieces, and I still stay in touch with him today, but he was deaf and autistic. And I really got to know his mom. And his mom, I mean, she was an advocate like no other. I've learned so much from her. And she's let me ask any questions. I'd watch what she did, saw the things that she did for him, and I learned about that. And so it just kind of progressed. I just learned as I went. And I also watched my mom at the end of when she was in the hospital and this end of life stuff and different things like that. They knew that we tell these people that they're deaf. The medical community is the worst. It's the worst. I feel like for people who should know what goes with this, it's terrible. Um, Thankfully I was there and I could sign for my mother, but if I hadn't been there, she wouldn't have known anything. And I thought about myself, like laying there, having these things done to you, having no idea what they're going to do, what they're saying to you, and I'm like, that will not be me. So all these experiences just kind of almost they just light more fire under me to learn more about it and how I can advocate for other people and to encourage other people that they can advocate for themselves, that we don't have to, we're not asking for much. I just want to be talked to like a human being, you
Yeah.
know? Um, so that's really kind of progressed all along. It's just those different experiences and learning how to stand up for myself without feeling like I'm being a jerk or expecting too much from people.
So,
Yeah.
who's been kind of an inspiration or a hero? I mean, you've had to overcome quite a bit to get to this point in your life. Who has been that inspiration for you?
I don't know. It's ones like, I think about Helen Keller. I used to love reading about her. She was fascinating to me. So it's people like that, but also like that mom that I watched, these moms that I worked with, watching how they advocated for their kids. They are superheroes to me. They are and they were role models for me. And it's really where I learned is to watch other moms with special needs children um, fight for their children. And I'm like, that's who I want to be. And honestly, my younger son does have the same hearing loss as I do too. So I'm having the opportunity to be for him what I wished my mom could have been for me. So that's really been a blessing. Um,
We definitely learn generationally. We learn as much from the hero as we do from those that are doing things that we want to improve on for sure. So is it hereditary? Is this something because your mom had it and your son has it? How does it work?
Yeah, that's what I found out because my mom didn't think so because I think it started with my mom. Honestly, it didn't look like there was much before it, so I think there was some gene things there possibly. But when I got pregnant with my oldest son, I wanted to know. So I went for genetic counseling and they really confirmed that it was a dominant inheritance. So like for me, I have the hearing loss. So my children have a 50-50 chance. My sisters don't have it, so their kids don't have the issue or a risk of it. So it really just kind of went down through me. Um, and my older son does not have an issue, but my younger son did have one. So
So what has been kind of the inspiration for you every day to wake up, not only today, but even in the past, to overcome and to help people, because there's so many things that you could have chosen to do in your life. You could have done something
mm,
completely different than what you're doing, but you're
mm.
actually tackling something that you're very close to. What's been that inspiration, that energy for you to do this and to evolve into who you are?
Oh, I think it's just been my own experiences, really. It's just living life with a disability and understanding what it takes. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for me to listen. It's a lot of work for me to do the things I do in life, but I am motivated by my love for other people and for wanting other people to have a better life, not to and to feel value because we're made with value, like we were created with purpose, and I truly believe that, and that's part of what I wrote about in my book as well. Um, and it was so great because I was able to put two things into my book. Is because my book has a lot of my story with my spiritual journey, but also with my hearing loss. People, even the people who are close to me sometimes really still don't understand the journey and what it takes to live a life with a disability. They just don't. And it's hard to explain that to people who don't know. So I was able to incorporate that in my writing too. So I feel like in my writing and my speaking, it gives me so many different audiences because I can speak to all those different things. But that's my motivation is really to love and help people live better, to live more free, and to live feeling like they're valuable. It really bothers me when, because I've been made to feel that way. Some of my jobs that I had, um, I mean, the things that people called me and the way they spoke to me, I just want people to know that they don't have to just take those things either. So
You
it motivates me.
Yeah, yeah, I get it, and I feel like that with my son. I've had to ward off a lot of people. Like I've noticed there's times where I feel like it could get chilly in the room when I walk in, the mood totally changes. Like they weren't gonna say something or do something, and it's a weird existence. And I get what you're saying about not wanting to talk about it or what because it's so unrelatable to so many people. And quite frankly, I've spent most of my life with people that I've known not even wanting to discuss it at all because I don't even want to bring them into the world. I just don't feel like it's going to be beneficial. Now, when it
Mm,
comes to the rest of the world that I want to help my son be a part of, that's when I'll go in and really start be fighting and being an advocate. But
mm.
it is really kind of something where you have to make choices like who needs to know and how much do you need to divulge?
Yeah, it's true. And sometimes it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is. Yeah.
And I'm not saying it from a bad perspective. Miles is wonderful. He's a hero. He's definitely my hero, and he's had to overcome and do things in ways that I just can't even imagine, that I don't even think he understands.
Mm,
But so I'm curious, in your book,
mm,
Created to Relate, Living Beyond Religion, was it hard for you to relive those memories? Because, when you do memoirs and you dig into your life, how
mm.
did you get through that? Because it has to be difficult.
Oh, it was. I mean, there were some days where I was just would start to write and then I'd just be in tears and I just had to let myself feel things. There were just some days that were like that. And that was one of the thing with COVID, like I was able to take time to do some of those things a little deeper um, than when you have all the distractions. But it was very emotional for me. It was healing for me. But in order to get to healing, you have to feel the pain. And it was painful. But I am thankful that I was willing to do that because even just in the conversations with people, but even in myself, um, I can tell the difference, and I know that there's parts of me that are healed that wouldn't have been if I hadn't been willing to do that. So,
So your book is obviously going to help people. Your story is going to help people. It's going to be a good thing for the world. But at the end of the day, is it served to be kind of therapeutic for you, kind of a way of healing your past and your traumas?
yeah, and I think it was multi-purpose. I think that was part of the purpose for writing this one. And it took me a long time. I mean, this one took me about 8 years to write.
Yeah.
So, because of the process of it all, um, yeah, but it has been a healing tool for me. And I feel like I'm a lot more free. And that frees me to help other people better and to love other people better too. So, I'm really grateful for the process.
So you've come a long way, and this book is emblematic of that. But let's say you had the chance in a dream tonight to run into a younger version of you, a 16-year-old version, and
Mm.
knowing everything you know, all the wisdom you've accumulated, what advice would you give that young version of you?
Oh, so much advice. The things, well, to be patient, that things, it's a lot of things are worth the wait that we try to get so quickly or to find. We kind of try to make things happen, whether it's a relationship or other things, to enjoy the process. I feel like that's one thing I learned through writing the book is I would tell her to enjoy the process, that it will be worth the wait, and um, not to hold on to things so tightly. I think it was really hard to move past some things for me, and that caused some real problems for me over the years. And to live in hurt for so long is just not healthy and it's not wise, really. And some things take a long time to heal. They do. But I let it linger way too long. Um, and not to be, I guess I would tell myself too that I was created the way I am with for a reason, that I would tell myself that I'm valuable. I would tell myself the things that I know now that I didn't really know then.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, everyone that reads your book, everyone that knows you in different
Mm.
capacities, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
It's funny because I've been talking about this a little bit. I'm a deep thinker. I'm very compassionate. Um, and I think I'm a good writer. I love that I can write and speak in a way that helps people open up. Because I did a speaking engagement in September, um, and they were amazed at how I was able to make the women comfortable enough to be so honest and transparent. And I think that's a gift. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So of everything that you've done and had to overcome and evolve into at this point, what are you the proudest of?
Oh, what am I the proudest of? Working through my stuff and finding that healing, um, so that I can help others better. Yeah, I think that's because it didn't defeat me. The depression didn't defeat me. The anxiety didn't defeat me. We take on those things as labels so much. And even my hearing loss, like, um, it hasn't defeated me. It's made me better. And I
Yeah.
think it's hard for us to see those things as positive, but I really do at this point.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to pick up a copy of your book, Created to Relate, Living Beyond Religion, or reach out or hire you to speak any of the good business, how can they do that?
The best way is through my website at www.arenewedcreation.com.
Okay.
You can do all of that there.
Okay. One stop shop. I'll put it in the show notes. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with the release.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.